Hello, welcome to Daily Biz. I'm Quang from Hanoi, and here are the headlines for today's Economic News Bulletin. Vietnam considers green growth the path to the future. FDI disbursement up 5.9% in 10 months. And interest rate gap between loans and deposits widens. As usual, we begin our economic news bulletin with the information on the stock market. Benchmark indices tumbled on both national stock exchanges. On the Ho Chi Minh City Stock Exchange, the VN Index finished at 615.15 points, dropping 14.37 points. About 41 million shares were traded at only $38.3 million. On the Hanoi Stock Exchange, the HNX Index fell by 2.67 points to 84.38 points. Meanwhile, unlisted companies also saw their stock prices went down, as the Upcom Index lost 1.24 points to close at 123.88 points. And next, we take a quick look at the biggest gainers and losers of the day. Vietnam's Consumer Price Index CPI posted a 6-month low in October, rising by only 0.11% month-on-month as a result of stability in the price of essential goods. Figures released by the General Statistics Office also showed that the CPI in the first 10 months of the year increased by only 2.36% compared with the entire 2013, representing the lowest level of CPI increase in the past decade. According to experts, the slight increase is due to abundant supply sources and stability in the price of essential goods. In addition, a 2.19% decline in petrol prices, which was cut 3 times since late September, also helped bring down the price of transport service by 0.45% and housing construction materials, including fuel, by 0.08%. Gearing production partners towards sustainable consumption was a key topic discussed at the Global Green Growth Forum, or 3GF 2014, which recently took place in Copenhagen, Denmark. Many developing countries, including Vietnam, shared the experience in developing and implementing green energy in the bid for sustainable development into the future.
Nowadays, cycling is very common in the Danish capital of Copenhagen, where people are keen to do what they can in terms of environmental protection. Cycling is regarded among environmentalists as one of the best green growth solutions to modern transportation needs, but it's just one way to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Delegates to the 3GF event had a chance to visit wind power and solar energy plants in Denmark, where research and application of clean renewable energy has been ongoing for 20 years.
We have decided to be the first carbon neutral capital city in 2025. And we have a step-by-step plan for the coming years, and we have already reached a very ambitious target.
At the forum, Denmark shared their experience and knowledge in the application and development of clean energy in Vietnam. Both sides pledged to continue strengthening their cooperation in terms of environmental management.
Thu hút các doanh nghiệp của Đan Mạch.
Many Danish businesses have a wealth of expertise in green and renewable energy, so we want to draw on their knowledge and cooperate with them in the development of green energy in Vietnam.
Studies at the forum have pointed out that the global economy will grow by more than 50% over the next 15 years. Therefore, clean energy development is crucial to supplying energy while at the same time protecting the environment. Green growth is the key for the future of all developing nations, including Vietnam.
Companies, especially exporters using illegal computer software, face the threat of being banned from access to large international markets like the U.S. Both local and international intellectual property laws are being tightened over time, and penalties for intellectual property infringement made harsher.
Illegal use of software may leave businesses facing penal crimes and harsh penalties under the Vietnamese law. Copyright owners can request a court order to force perpetrators to stop the illegal acts, tender a formal apology, take corrective actions, and pay damages. But despite warnings, many companies, both domestic and foreign, continue to violate the law. According to international intellectual property lawyers, exporters could face severe penalties since 36 U.S. states have ratified the Unfair Competition Act, which requires all manufacturers and shippers around the world to use legal and licensed computer hardware and software in their business activities. Inability to prove the legitimacy of computer hardware or software, or failure to cease using illegal computer products within 90 days following receipt of a formal notice could be subject to compensation, confiscation, and, more importantly, being blacklisted from entering the U.S. markets.
Disbursements of foreign direct investment FDI posted encouraging 5.9% increase to $10.15 billion in the first 10 months of 2014, according to the latest report from the Ministry of Planning and Investment Foreign Investment Agency. Total registered capital of FDI has reached $13.7 billion for the first 10 months. Manufacturing and processing remained the hottest sector for foreign investors, attracting the lion's share of FDI at $9.7 billion, or roughly 71% of the nation's total newly registered capital. According to the agency, foreign investors sector posted a trade surplus of $13.8 billion in 10 months, as its exports reached $82.49 billion, a 13.6% year-on-year increase. The Vietnam Trade Office in Australia and the Ministry of Industry and Trade are organizing a series of activities to help Vietnamese exporters to enter the Australian market. Under the free trade agreement between ASEAN and Australia, Australia has lifted import tariffs on 96% of lines of goods from ASEAN countries since 2010, and the remaining will be lifted by 2020, which creates great potential for exporting goods to this market. Australia has huge demand for apparel, footwear, wooden furniture, and fishery products. In the first 9 months of this year, Vietnam's exports to Australia were valued at $3 billion, a year-on-year surge of 24.5%. Popular products such as iron and steel, electric wire, pepper, and garment and textile were all registered for export at high growth. We're coming back with other news and stories after a quick look at the updated exchange rates for today. Domestic drug producers are facing significant obstacles in selling their products in both the domestic and foreign markets. According to experts, most local plants currently operate at only half their capacity.
Locally manufactured drugs see many trade barriers when they export it. To sell drugs abroad, domestic firms have to invite foreign partners to Vietnam to check the quality of their production facilities and materials and pay the inspection costs. The registration charges for medicines that are distributed are also much more expensive in foreign countries than in Vietnam. Meanwhile, foreign medicines can be imported quite easily. Industry insiders said that the biggest disadvantage causing domestic companies to be uncompetitive is that they have to import production materials at high prices. Many local firms manage to survive by seeking contracts to sell drugs in hospitals. India is the leading exporter of drugs to Vietnam, having 12,160 registration numbers in the total of 28,000 registration numbers of medicines imported here. But Vietnam has been able to inspect only one factory in India so far. Extremely low local registration costs have let all kinds of drugs enter the domestic market.
The interest rate gap between loans and deposits has reached 4%, benefiting banks but causing difficulties for enterprises, according to independent analysts.
In recent months, banks have cut deposit interest rates, with the rate on short-term deposits standing at 4.5% to 5%, and for long-term deposits, the rate is 7% per year. Although lending interest rates have been cut, they remain high, averaging between 8 to 12% per year. Lending interest rates of between 7 and 8% are offered only to financially healthy enterprises with highly feasible projects. According to Cao Sĩ Kiêm, former governor of the State Bank of Vietnam, the country's lending interest rates is 2 times higher than those of countries in the region. Analysts, however, said that banks did not want to lower lending interest rates since they wanted to make more profits to settle their bad debts. Many banks not only face huge bad debts, but also have a low level of chartered capital. Thus, narrowing the gap between deposit and loan interest rates is not feasible at this time, according to the National Monetary and Financial Advisory Council.
Moving to the realty sector, a number of high-end apartments in Hanoi have been converted into medium-end apartments and offered at lower prices to attract more customers and reduce large inventories. The price of high-end apartments will reduce from around $2,140 per square meter a few years ago to just $1,400 per square meter today. Investors took out high-end interiors and delivered nearly completed instead of completed apartments to be able to bring down prices. The market for high-end apartments has remained gloomy for several years, while the market for lower-priced apartments has remained bright as the latter were more affordable for most people. However, scaling down high-end apartments to attract more buyers seems to be only a temporary solution since the domestic property market is not recovering as quickly as expected. The Institute of Economic Research and the Global Trade Alliance Global GTA UK announced Vietnam's top brands 2014 last weekend. The brands came from big players such as Vinamilk, Sasco, Viettel, and AIA, as well as Secondbus, Hyco, and Merino. Award recipients must ensure the application of international standard quality management systems, the recognizability and popularity of their brands, and the credibility, trust, and respect for the brand from society, as well as overall management capacity in the cooperation process and trade alliances. And that's the end of today's Economic News Bulletin. And thanks for watching. And to watch any of our programs, please log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go. And goodbye from Hanoi.